Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So I thought I would upload the first interview that Jim did on the Dylan Rounds case, or the first live he did, I should say. It was actually June 15th when he came on. It was the 1 year anniversary of Summer Wells' disappearance. I did a live where I talked about like 3 other cases, and Dylan was the last case I talked about, so it kind of has gotten lost in the mix of the whole live. It was a really long live. So I've gotten requests to upload it as like its own video. So that's what I'm going to do. You guys could take it as you want. Like I said, we know a lot since this interview or this live. So we've learned a lot since then. So I believe this is the first time Jim has actually talked about this case. June 15th. I mean, I could be wrong, but this is the first time I was aware that he went on any channel and talked about it. So I just wanted to play it for you guys in a little shorter live so it doesn't get lost in the mix of things. Because there's been questions about some of the stuff that he originally said. So here it is, so you guys could see for yourself. Hey, Jim.
Jim, I told everyone it's my fault, not yours, and you're the professional.
Well, listen, you were probably way too busy applying all the smoky eye to get the right link together in order to get you on the program today, guys. How are you ladies doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks, Ship's Cat. I'm good to see you. I'm really good. Looking good. How are you doing?
I'm maintaining in this land of haters. Boy, a lot of craziness going on out there, isn't it? I mean, it's just absolutely nuts. You wonder how all this stuff happens and on a daily basis, and then we keep being put together through these cases. So we've got another one here, and it involves a young boy who's 19 years old. And I just saw that news clip for the first time, which looks like it might be several days old. And let me tell you something. I understand things now more than I ever did after watching that news clip, because there is a whole lot of funniness that's gone on, a whole lot of miscommunication, and a whole lot of bad information out there about what's really going on. So obviously, if anybody's ever seen me on your show before, I'm not for everybody. I'm going to hit you straight. I'm going to shoot you straight about this case, okay? Because there's no reason to dilly-dally or sugarcoat anything. If it offends people, if it's not what they want to hear, this isn't 48 hours. It's not going to be edited. But I am here to answer any question from the people in your chat, any question that you have. No question is out of bounds, and I'll try my best to do whatever I can to explain what's going on with this young man. So I'll let you take it away.
Okay. I just started looking into this a few days ago. So, let's see. So were you hired by his mom?
No. That's a little bit of the problem here. The parents had a nasty divorce a few years ago. It was a horrible divorce. The mother and the father would not take my phone calls. I was originally contacted once again by a media outlet. I had some success with a case up there similar, and they said, "Will you get a hold of these people?" I tried to, and the father and the mother would not take my calls. The grandparents and one of the aunts are actually the ones that hired me. Technically, Dylan Rounds' grandmother and grandfather, they're the ones that bought him that farm, are the ones that retained me.
Okay. Yep,
But I have dealt with all of them, and that's a major issue here, and we'll get into that. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah, the mom is making some rounds. I mean, she's all over, which, I mean, I think it could be a good thing, though. She's
It
active.
is. Can I be honest? It is if you know what the hell you're doing. Okay. Let me put it in the way that maybe other people could understand this. What happens sometimes in missing persons cases is, and we've talked about this on your show, so I'll get off this real quick, but we got to go over this for the people that are just viewing this. I'm a private investigator based out of Biloxi, Mississippi. I received an education in college to be a private investigator after a pro football career. I had to go through classes. I had to get fingerprinted. I had to open up a business license. I actually went back to school with my mom. She went to college with me to become a private investigator. I've had a business for over 7 years. I've understudied under people. What we're getting now is a lot of people that watch Investigation Discovery. They're true crime advocates. They're 501c3 people, and they think if they have a Facebook page or a YouTube channel, they're investigators. or that they know what they're doing when it comes to this thing. The mother is of that ilk. She has no idea what the hell she's doing. And being out there is a good thing if the direction you're leading people in is productive. And what I mean by that is God bless this mother for being out there. That would be like me coming to your house and you saying, "Hey, my toilet's leaking," and I'm the plumber. And I just start going around to every faucet you have and taking all the pipes apart. And I'm looking at your water tank and I'm outside digging up. That's what's been done here. If you have an issue, which is a missing person from a farm, you've got to go and see the days and the weeks leading up to his disappearance, maybe even the months, to really get an understanding of what happened. For example, these boots in the desert, with all due respect, the whole fucking farm is in the desert. No, it doesn't matter where those boots would be. They were less than a football field away. So they weren't way out in the desert. They were in an area where he would have taken them off when he got out of a tractor. So while that sounds sexy and it looks like it might be this major clue, there's boots in the desert. You put boots anywhere within 40 miles of that house and they're in the desert. So while the mom has been an advocate and she's been out there getting press, she has actually used a lot of their resources and brought them right back to the same place they were in the beginning. And unfortunately, when she isn't, and that's a very good question, she didn't hire me. The grandparents did. So if the mother hasn't hired me, well, then she thinks she can do this because I've seen this on TV. I'm his mom. And 90% of the stuff that was in that news article was total garbage. It wasn't true. And I don't know how intentional that is. So I was retained by the grandparents, and what I found is quite interesting.
I mean, so you think she's purposely trying to misguide everybody? I mean,
No, I don't think she's purposely doing it. I think she's so stubborn and hard-headed and wants to solve this. Some people would rather fail their way than succeed somebody else's. And this thing basically comes down to two men. The family had already been looking for this young man for about 5 days before they retained me. If you look back on that news article, it said that there was a man and he was bleeding and he came up to her son in a truck. His name was Chase. They even redacted, and I've spoken with him. He's currently in jail. But they even redacted his photo and everything. And the family for the first 3 to 5 days thought this guy, because they couldn't get a hold of him, had murdered their son, chopped him up, and buried him in the desert. It took me about 3 hours to figure out that we could cross him off the list. He was seen in a Little Caesars Pizza almost 3 hours away. I got the footage. I saw it. There is no way he had anything to do with that boy's disappearance. So for 3 to 5 days, the family put up a $20,000 reward for the young man, for Dylan Rounds, and a $5,000 reward up for a guy who wasn't even in the area for the 3 days prior to his disappearance. And to be quite honest with you, they really don't know when he disappeared. They don't know if it was the day that they're saying, the day before, the morning after. They have no idea when he went missing. Look at the area that he's in. The kid was sleeping in a camper on several acres. There's just not a whole lot of communication out there. He's 19 years old, and he had started that farm purchased by his grandparents when he was 17. He's been out there since he was a minor. And let me tell you guys something. Montello, I believe is how you say it, is an absolute shithole. I didn't know places like that in the United States still existed. It's a town of probably 200 people, and I can't imagine why anybody would want to do anything in that town, especially a 19-year-old young man. The family's really struggled with that lately, blaming whoever bought, the grandparents for buying the farm for him. The mom's over here, the dad's over here, the grandparents are over there, there's an aunt over here. So even though they've decided to kind of work together on this, and the mother has sort of taken the lead, the father's been the real bulldog on this and has gotten a lot of stuff done. Unfortunately, they're going in the wrong direction based on a lot of different reasons.
So
we have a few questions.
Do you have some?
Yeah, do you have some, Tiff?
Well, I was going to ask, they said he had to have left on foot. Do you agree with that? Because of the truck and there's no tracks in the...
There's no proof of that. Absolutely no proof of that. We don't know if he left or if he was taken. We don't know if he, got in somebody else's vehicle. And you can tell by my demeanor, there's a little bit of a difference in me today with this story, but we're going to give it to you. So here it is. There was obviously something wrong here. In order to be a private investigator, you throw a rock into a pack of dogs, and the one that hollers, and I've said this on your show, is the one that got hit. That's where you focus. there was something odd about this story. You've got to find the one thing that doesn't make sense. Every parent that I've ever worked in a case, whether it was Anthony Smith out of Boise, Idaho, that I found in that militia group in Michigan, Gloria Alvarado in Detroit, where I found her in that house. If you look over my career, the parents all do the same thing with me. They have this big, wild, eccentric story about bikers and cartels and sex offenders and people being robbed and being buried in the desert and drug dealers and Murder Mountain and all this stuff that they see on TV. And there's usually something else behind it, the days and the weeks leading up to it. This is a 19-year-old young man, good-looking kid, looks like a baseball player. He's not a very big guy. He's kind of small. He's a smaller kid. And I started digging into his lifestyle before he went missing. Didn't make sense. A 19-year-old wanting to live in the desert and start a farm and is wanting to do it since he was 9. I wanted to talk to any of his high school girlfriends, any of his friends, any people around his age, and there were none. There were 2 men involved in this story. And I'm going to give you their names here because your fans are wanting to know the truth, and I want to give it to you. He hung around a guy named Kurt Wadesworth. Kurt Wadesworth is a 60-year-old man who has 8 children and is estranged from the children, the majority of them, and his wife. This man lives in the area. A lot of these people live in what's called BLM land. Now, anybody that I know, you say BLM, you're not thinking of free land out in the middle. You're thinking of Black Lives Matter. Like I was like, well, what's BLM land? Do you know what that is? It's this, and your listeners probably could explain a little bit better in the chat. It's this property out in the middle of the nowhere that's not owned by anybody, where you can go set up and put an RV out there and live out there, and it's open land. A lot of these people live out there. And so this guy, Kurt Wadesworth, lives out there. His family is a bunch of local knuckleheads. They're drug addicts, they're pedophiles, they're criminals, and they're felons. This is all verified. Kurt Wadesworth was and is Dylan Rounds' friend. He helped him on his property. They were palling around together, and I found out that they had a lot of communication. I also found out that these two had a sexual relationship, okay? Dylan Rounds was gay. His family didn't know that. Boom, I could just tell you what that does to a bunch of farmers. Bottom line is there's too much here not to look at that and make that a factor in this case. He was having some sort of a relationship with this Wadesworth fella. Now, I went back over Wadesworth's history. He has a brother named Troy Wadesworth, who's a registered sex offender. These people all live out in that area. If you show that clip again, you could see that it's in the middle of nowhere. It's not like these people are in neighborhoods. There's not gated communities. There's not swimming pools. It's not where that little kid walked into the lake. This is desert. This is like the movie The Hills Have Eyes. So that was the first big obstacle that we got over and found out when I first got onto the case. And that was a real tough pill for that family to swallow. But they had to understand that that had some bearing on where this went from there.
So, Tracy L is saying was or is. So what is you just put him in the past tense. He was gay.
Well, and if I was gay, if he's dead, people hang on that term a lot. Was, is, currently, whatever it is, it is. At this point, it don't look good, guys. I'm going to be real honest with you. If I had to go to Vegas and bet on this, it's probably 90-10. And I've come on here with cases before where I'm telling you, I don't see anything that indicates that this kid is deceased, is dead. I've had those cases and we found him. I've been wrong before. I'm going to say that he is, currently gay, but he may currently be deceased if they want me to play semantics. But what I'm telling you is the moral of this beginning of this story is that he was in a relationship with a 60-year-old man and the family knew nothing about it. That is where I came in, and that is the first piece of the puzzle that I found that takes us to the next lily pad. It's one thing at a time. Once I crossed off the boogeyman that they all had on the newscast, then I went to his lifestyle. Then I wanted to know who the guy was that he was dating, and it turns out that guy and his brother's a registered sex offender, and the number of people that have been in and around Kurt Wadesworth's life are incredible. I spoke with a family that lived near him on this trailer who would bring him dinner. His family also owns a bar there where Dylan Rounds would hang out called the Saddle Store. and they would bring Kurt Wadsworth dinner. And a couple of kids would go and get him from his trailer, bring him to this bar, and feed him dinner a couple nights a week. Several times the kids went to his house, banged on the door, he wouldn't come. The kids opened up the door and they saw this 60-year-old man there dressed in full drag. This is way before Dylan Rounds ever moved to the area. So I think Dylan Rounds was sucked into this little group. This group also, with Kurt Wadsworth, of Dylan Rounds, of Troy Wadsworth, and a bunch of other little people there, have a real issue with theft in that community. There's a lot of drug addicts and meth running out there. And if you look at where it is, it's on the border. So you got Utah, you got Elko County, you've got all these different police departments. And if you go 1 mile this way or half a mile that way, you're in a totally different state. The problem is they all don't work together very well. And it is a missing persons case. The mother infuriated me on that video that I saw where she says, they found his boots in the desert. It's a crime. No, it's not. I got a pair of boots out in the backyard right now. I'm not missing. It's not a crime. There is absolutely no proof of a crime here. Now, do we know better? Yeah. Just like the Rebecca Barsotti case, Michaela Nelson. Is there some sort of a crime? There very well could be. But if there is no proof or no evidence of a struggle or splashes of blood everywhere or bullets or, anything like that, then the police—
Isn't there blood on the boots, though? I thought there was blood on the boots, she said.
Okay, here's the truth on the boots. There is a red speck on the back of one boot.
Oh,
I got
red.
that could be paint, that could be ketchup. See, that's the difference in the semantics, and that creates an issue. Now, could he have been shot and the boots were on him, and they took the boots off and left him there? I mean, there's a lot of speculation as what it could be. Guys, the drop of blood or ketchup or paint or whatever's on those boots, and there's a shitload of droplets of blood. It could be anything. It probably is. It might not even be his blood. So that's kind of where that goes. So we've got to cross that off the list. And those are the problems that people that don't do this for a living create, which continue to push people back 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
What about her saying that his truck was pressure washed because the tires?
It was definitely pressure washed. So here's the two sides of the story. There's a possibility that car was pressure washed after something I've had 2 really good leads on this. One of the leads involved a man who's a multimillionaire out there. He's an alpaca farmer. I had to look up what an alpaca— you guys know what the hell an alpaca is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Yeah. You do? Okay, I had no idea what that was. I thought an alpaca was somebody from over near the Philippines. An alpaca is like a fuzzy, small giraffe, right? What the hell do you do with those? Why would you need a farm of those? What do you do with alpaca?
You can make good material out of their fur.
Their fur
and they're
really
cute,
soft,
and you can hug them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen this guy, and I'm sure he's not— I hope he's not out there in the middle of his farm hugging wild animals. But I can tell you that he got in contact with me, and he let me into a tip on this case, which is that Dylan Rounds and the 2 Wadsworth brothers that are older— one of them's a sex offender, and several other of their friends were policing that area on their own late at night. They had their own little militia group, their own little vigilante group, and they were going around in that desert stopping people, pulling guns on people. And there is some possibility here that maybe there was an accidental discharge in the back of that pickup truck, and that boy got shot, and those 2 brothers put his body somewhere. That's one possibility that keeps coming up over and over and over to me. Now, I brought this up to the family. I've called law enforcement. The reason that I know that this is possible is because there's not too many people before that article came out that knew that that truck was pressure washed. And in that town, there's only 2 current pressure washers, one at Kurt Wadsworth's house and one at Dylan Rounds' house. I can't find another person in that small town, which there's only like 35 people within a certain amount of distance, that have a pressure washer. And none of them have let anybody borrow it or pressure wash that truck. So the one theory— and I don't have theories as a private investigator. I don't do that. Any private investigator who has a theory this early and goes to it is like putting a square peg in a round hole. I just collect information. I pass it on to the people that can do something with it and go from there. For example, like he was in a sexual relationship with this guy, that his brother was a registered sex offender. We're going to get to him in a second. That they had this little militia group that they were going out with late at night. There was also a gun in Dylan Rounds' trailer that the first 2 days the parents went in there, which I was speaking with the family but was not retained at the time, was not there. When they checked the trailer a day or two later, the gun was in the bathroom. Somebody brought that gun back. I think Dylan Rounds, if you listen to it, might have been out there with this group. Maybe there was an accidental discharge. The other working theory is even more scary.
What's that?
Tell
The
us.
other working theory is Troy Wadesworth is a registered sex offender. He kidnapped a girlfriend of his and had her in a shed. He was busted for this. He had her in a shed, and he used her to lure 2 other women to this shed. We're talking about a shed, no plumbing, no kitchen. And
How long ago?
2018. And he had these women captive in this. Now, one of the women ran away barefoot. Here's why the shoes might be important if you believe he's alive. Basically what happened, and I had a caregiver, a social worker, which I can't name her on this program because she'll lose her job. She was the woman that took care of these 3 women that were abducted and held against their will by Kurt Wadsworth's brother, Troy Wadsworth. And basically what they said is that he would put them in this trailer and he would exchange water and food for sexual favors. He also would take thumbtacks and put 2 gallons or a 5-gallon jug of water out there, put tacks in the water, and it would slowly drain. And that was part of their torture. If they did something that he didn't like, he would put tacks in their water. They were chained in one of these women disappeared. She got out of that, not disappeared. One of the women who had a daughter there got loose, made it to a post office. And they went and got these girls, and these girls basically would not testify against him. As soon as they had their advocates, as soon as they met with police, they basically just disappeared. And I'm trying to track those 3 women down. There is police reports about this, and that's why he only did a short amount of time. And it was for something like internet pornography or something. It wasn't even for capturing these women because they wouldn't come out against him and say that that is what had happened. So Troy Wadsworth is not a very good guy. I also found out that in the last 2 weeks, Troy Wadsworth has nail marks, scratches up and down one of his arms. I've told the police about that. Not only will the police not go and take a picture of it, but the father has seen the nail marks. It's verified they exist. Now, why he would have nail marks on one arm for the last 10 days, I'm not sure. The problem with that is the mom doesn't want to look at that. So when I had them on the phone the other day, the mom blew a gasket. I said, those are your son's fingernails if he was with them. She doesn't want to hear that. The family's renting helicopters. They're going out in the desert. They're getting on horseback. They've got search and rescue groups. This comes down to 2 things. The guy he had a sexual relationship with and his brother. And I called the police. I got the family together and I said, listen, forget about biker gangs and cartel gangs and, Breaking Bad type scenarios here. This is very simple. You need to do 2 things. You need to go up to the 2 brothers that hung around him the most, and you need to go up to the registered sex offender who had people captive before and ask and take pictures of that gnarled up arm. They won't do it. Number 2, what you need to do is you need to go to Kurt Wadsworth and you need to make sure that he has, you can get his cell phone. Ask to see his cell phone. If he won't show you his cell phone, which by law he does not have to, it would be pretty interesting. He's known this kid for 2.5 years. It would be interesting if he deleted all their Facebook or all their text messaging to one another. So what I told the family and law enforcement is just do this. Go to Kurt Wadsworth and Troy Wadsworth, take a picture of one of their arms, and take that cell phone and look through it. There would be over 2 years worth of texting. If he texted something like, let me see your dick, or, I want you to blow me, or let's go on a date, and that kid was 17 years old, that's a crime. They can arrest him right there. They won't do it. They won't do it because people in that town are so afraid of the Wadsworth family. So that's where this comes down to. And anybody who tells you any other scenario is either guessing or full of shit. And that's kind of where this is. So that's why I would believe that maybe sometimes people would rather fail their way, or they would rather make a story look the way that it does instead of having the truth out there, because the truth doesn't make the missing person look very good.
Well, why is everybody so afraid of the family though? What are they? powerful? I mean, why are they?
I mean, not only the police. I've talked to 3
What?
different law enforcement agencies up there, and I said, just go ask Kurt
Well, the
Wadsworth.
Wadsworth, they're all afraid of that Wadsworth family. You're saying,
Right. Well, I
right?
mean, I don't know. I'm not afraid of him. I asked him. I says, "Hey, Kurt, would you show your phone to the police?" And I even asked the police, and the police says, "Well, he doesn't have to show it to us." I said, "Did you ask him? If he denies it, it's like this. It's like going up to a girl and saying, Did you cheat on your boyfriend?" She goes, "I'm not telling you." Well, then yeah, that means you did. Because if you didn't, you'd say, "No." Well, Kurt, can I see your phone? Sure, here it is. If all his text messages in the last 2 years to a coworker and one of his best friends are all deleted, well, then there's obviously something you didn't want him to see on the phone. It's not an arrestable offense. If there's 2 years worth of text messaging and you go back through there and see that they had a sexual relationship when he was underage, doesn't matter if it's 2 guys, it's still statutory rape. You can make an arrest right then and there. And his brother has got nail marks on his arm, which by now I'm sure are almost healed. At least the father had the wherewithal to go up to him. The father's a little bit of a hard ass. I kind of like him. He's really shaking things up there. But once again, it's flash over substance. Some people would rather get in helicopters and do news interviews. Other people would like to get to the bottom of it. And the bottom of it is that no matter what happened to this man, whether he's alive or dead, and I'd say it's probably 90-10, he had a sexual relationship with a 60-year-old man who probably knows more than he's telling anybody and still has not shown anybody his cell phone. Pretty simple.
Is that how you spell Troy Wadsworth's name?
Wadsworth. It looks to be about right, yeah. There's not too many of them. I believe he's a registered sex offender out of Idaho.
So did you guys check that shed? Were you able to get close to that shed where he had
Can't
those other
find a
women?
shed. And that shed was in 2018. That's why I'm trying to track down the 3 women that were abducted. I've got their nurse who is trying to get me, which I don't even know if this is legal, the files on these women. But a shed from 2018 that these women escaped from probably is not where he's at. These are people that have sheds, storage containers all over the place. I mean, right now it would be how many days? I only know how many days since I've been hired. A couple of weeks. If he's alive in a shed somewhere, it would be amazing. Because we've never seen a guy in a shed. We've seen cases where women have been in sheds. There's not too many guy cases out there. The gun coming back, the shoes out there, the car pressure washed. This leads me to believe that it might have been something a little bit more nefarious. And the police or the family has taken that. One thing about this family is they've left no stone unturned. I deal with families all the time that won't do this. They won't put up a reward, and then they wonder why nobody gives a shit, right? This family put up a $20,000 reward for him, a $5,000 reward for the guy they thought was involved. They took the truck and they're getting it looked at in another state forensically, having it luminol. They've done the helicopters. They hired a private investigator. They have done everything that they can do. Now, I don't agree with some of the people in the family doing some of the things because obviously when the media comes, they want to put the camera in front of the mom's face and get her story. Just because she's the mom doesn't mean she knows what the fuck she's doing. You know what I mean? She's just his mom. She has no background in this. And that's the conversation we had to have the other day. I said, ma'am, you've got to look at Troy and Kurt Wadsworth and realize what your son was going through. Realize what his lifestyle was about. And you need to go ahead and go full force into those 2 people and stop worrying about looking for holes in the desert. You're not going to find it. It lies with those 2 people.
Donna, what do you mean? When did the mother say that? Do you see that? It says the mother said Kurt called and told her they were holding Dylan captive. When did that? What?
I don't know who that is. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard
Donna,
that
can you did this just happen then or something? Because wow, give us more information on that. So the mom knows that the grandparents hired you, right? But
Correct. I didn't speak to the mom for the first 3 days I was on the case.
Okay.
I didn't.
Does she get along with her parents, or is that her parents or his parents?
She's a know-it-all. I don't know. She didn't want to deal with a private investigator, and they didn't want to push me on her. They were sick of having her be in charge, and that's why they hired me.
That's what I was gonna say.
They also couldn't find another private investigator in the area, and I had several cases that I had solved in that area.
Man, Bella, do you have a bunch of questions?
Not what you expected.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, wow. So Oh, the gun. That's what I was going to ask you. Did they know? Does his mom know that the gun was gone and then it reappeared? They all know that?
So what happened was when they first got there, they all ransacked the place. I wanted to be on the case from the beginning. So they ransacked the place. They had relatives looking under beds, relatives looking in the truck, and you can't do that. You can't just have. So nobody believes in that small camper that gun was there. When they came back a couple of days later, the gun was in the bathroom. Now a cousin says, well, I didn't see it there, but it might have been there. I don't remember. And then 2 or 3 other relatives said, we searched this whole house. We didn't see the gun. So there's some miscommunication as to whether the gun left or was back. The consensus is that gun was not there when they first searched the house because they were looking for it.
Wow.
That gun was brought back, I believe.
Man, who would have risked like bringing that back? Wow.
Journey of Justice wants to know, Jim, is there any validity about his mom saying that he had fired a farm worker recently?
Yeah, and it was a weird kind of a crop. I don't know. I don't know much about farming. I grew up in Clearwater Beach, Florida. I didn't grow up near any of that stuff. But I can tell you that there was a disgruntled worker that he fired. The guy has been talked to. He does seem a little odd. I haven't really looked into him. I'm going to go with the guy he had a relationship with. Because if the guy he was good friends with or had the relationship with didn't have anything to do with his disappearance, he probably would be looking for him and getting in that guy's face that was recently fired. But on a farm, whether you watch the TV show Yellowstone or a ranch or anything else, farm hands and workers, they come and go. That's par for the course.
They do. That's true.
Okay.
That's true. And you've talked to that guy?
No, not the one that was fired. No, I didn't speak to him. There was also another 17-year-old boy who's an illegal Mexican who was working out there. I don't speak Spanish. Somebody from the family spoke to him. He didn't know nothing. That stuff sounds good when you first hear it. Like, hey, listen, there's this Mexican kid. He's up from Mexico. His uncle might be a cartel leader. And then you start looking, and this is just some kid who, crossed the border and is just looking for work. And even though he doesn't speak English, it's just, no, it's just not that sexy. I'm sorry.
Look at other questions. Let's see.
How did
Under
you
the stars
about this case?
What'd you ask?
How did you two first hear about this case?
I heard it from Tiff.
Who did I hear? Somebody wrote. I'm trying to think. Somebody reached out to me and told me, was that you awake in the art? One of my viewers, I think. I feel like initially told me, and then I looked into it. I just started looking into it a couple of days ago. I was a little bit behind. And then I was trying to catch up on all, because she's on, like, I watched the Duty Ron. She was on that channel. That was a pretty interesting interview. And then she has that, what's that guy's name? He's like a big YouTuber flying the helicopter. So she has this big YouTuber dude that he has a helicopter and he's like flying over the land. Because
the mother got that guy out there.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if the mother got him out there, but I mean, yeah, I guess I don't know who got him.
So there's a YouTuber with an airplane out there.
A helicopter.
Helicopter. Okay.
I'm guessing it was her, but I don't know. So he has it on his channel.
Yeah.
He like does like videos with like Jake Paul and like I don't know. He's just like a YouTuber that has, I guess, a lot of money, that has helicopters and all kinds. So yeah, he does. He was, remember Susan Powell? Do you remember Bella? He's the one that did that.
Wow, he did Susan Powell. So
he
like
did where they went to that what it was, that the little mine. Yeah, he was the one that did all the equipment and everything. So he does help sometimes.
And see, that stuff is all phenomenal. God bless him. But I'd rather the family, instead of dealing with Jake Paul's helicopter buddy from YouTube, or dealing with, P. Diddy or whoever the hell is going to come out there from the internet, I would rather the family go over to the Wadesworth's house. So let me see your cell phone. Let me see your cell phone. You've been my son's close friend for the last 2.5 years. Let me see what you talked about. I'd rather them go over to the brother, the registered sex offender, and say, where'd you get those scratches on your arm? I don't know why that's not being the focal point here.
Did they admit that that he was actually friends with that guy, or are they in denial that they even really?
He was staying over at his trailer. I talked to Kurt Wadsworth. He said the boy stayed at his trailer continuously. Yeah, this is no secret. I think
So the mother
Okay,
knows that for sure, and she doesn't want to question him at all because
I mean, ask
she's
her. I don't
afraid.
know why they won't. I don't know why they won't. They have a million reasons why they haven't. And this isn't just new. I've been telling them to do these things. By the way, they paid me an absorbent amount of money to do this. This is like going to a dentist and saying this tooth is killing me. I can't eat. And the dentist says, okay, we're going to extract it. We're going to get rid of the pain. You're going to be fine. And you're like, no, I'd rather you. And all of a sudden you become the dentist. People believe because they watch this shit on television or on YouTube that they can go out into the desert and they know what the fuck they're doing. They don't. They don't. And it's extremely frustrating when when you've put in the time, when you've looked through this stuff and you know where this is going. And because everything is on camera and everything's a YouTube and everything is a Facebook post, it's just incredible. Wadsworth's relative, he had a relative, I don't know if it was his daughter or his sister, called me when I first went public with her father or a brother being a drag queen and dressing up and having this lifestyle. If she would have called me, if that family would have called me and said, yeah, he's bisexual, or yeah, he likes boys, he likes 19-year-old boys, it would have been over. He's not gay. He's not. And I got 50 people telling me they seen him dressing as a woman, putting on makeup, dating other guys. It's the fact that they would lie. And I wouldn't even have went public with it. I wouldn't even have made it a big deal. But they made it a big deal by saying that it wasn't true. And I've even talked to his ex-wife and his ex-sister-in-law, and they all said, yeah, we've seen him Bruce Jenner in it, which is what they called it, Bruce Jenner in it. So he has that background. I don't know what that has to do with the disappearance, other than it's something that they want to keep quiet, which tells me if you throw a rock into a pack of dogs and it hollers, it's the one that got hit. And those two brothers got hit. So I think they know a hell of a lot more, and I think they know exactly where that kid is.
Wow.
And so how did they meet? Do you know how Dylan and Kurt met?
When Dylan got that farm, they met out there. There's and this is going to sound like a bad joke, but the drag queen 60-year-old Kurt Wadsworth guy and his family owns a bar out there called the Saddle Sore. Now,
oh, they own that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I look at the GPS because that was the last place that Dylan
in a
was seen.
Saddle Sore, I don't ride horses, so I don't know. I thought it was a gay bar, and it's not. So this kid was there eating and drinking sometimes during the week and in the evening. He's only 19. So there's only 35 people right in that little center of town. I mean, guys, if we were all in that town right now, we'd be 10% of the town.
Yeah.
Not only that, we'd all be the three best looking human beings in one town.
And so they are aware. So they're very aware of what's going on then, huh?
I think they are. But it's sometimes the closest distance in a missing persons case is a straight line. And it took me years to realize that, guys. Let me give you an example here. I had a case that and by the way, I am not an hourly employee. I get a lot of this in here. Well, he's just stringing the family along, $100 an hour. I'm the only private investigator that charges a one-time lump sum fee at the beginning, and I work the case till it's complete. I had a case involving a kid in Idaho. This one kills me. It's the only one I've never been able to take the credit for. And it was a kid named Jed Hall. And there's a bunch of rednecks on the internet that have a YouTube channel where they go and they find cars in the water. Purpose Surface or
Adventures with a Purpose.
Adventures with a Purpose.
Amazing.
So I had that case for almost 3 years. If people follow the case that's out there, they'll know. Everybody and their mother thought Jed Hall, including me, was out there somewhere. And he was 3 miles from his house. He drove his car into a river, shot himself, and he drowned there. Now, everybody knew that there was a possibility that he could have went into the river. 3 miles from his house, despite all the stuff he did with that story. It was the very first thing he could have done, the exact straightest line to solve the case. I looked in Stockton, California, Vancouver. I followed leads to Chicago and Kentucky, women that he had dealt with, militia groups, military groups, everywhere. And that kid never made it out of his hometown. He took that car, put it in the water, and killed himself. Now, I'm not a search and rescue guy. A private investigator doesn't scuba dive in an ocean to find a body. That's different. That's the difference between an oral surgeon and a dentist. You might still work on the teeth, but it's two different practices, right? So those guys went in there and they found that car. I looked back on my notes in the Facebook pages, and there was 5 or 6 people in the very beginning of the Jed Hall case that I had 4 years ago that said that kid's in the river. And I'm like, the cops have searched it. They've searched it 3 times. They've used drones. They've used divers. If it was there, if it was that simple. And you know what? I should have went there first. I relied on these other people. This is the same thing. Boom, Troy and Kurt Wadsworth. There you go. Once you cross them off the list, then hire Jake Paul's helicopter pilot or P. Diddy's horses or whatever you want to do to go out there and make this thing interesting. But until then, cross them off. So I learn every day in this business, guys. You know, I think I'm pretty good at what I do, but you can always learn. You can always learn. And part of being a good PI in a missing persons case, there's a lot of facets of being a PI, is to be cynical. I looked at this kid, and I'm going to be honest with you. I said, 19 years old. He's a good-looking kid. You know, he's in shape. He's got money. His family's got money. He's never had a girlfriend. What the fuck? He's never had a boyfriend either. What's going on here? That's not normal. Never played high school football. Never played. I mean, why would a kid go to a farm at 17 and live in that? I mean, why would he do that? No cell phone. No. It didn't make sense to me. So I started looking into it and being cynical. I said, so a kid with no girlfriend at 19 who's good looking, he must be gay. He was gay. I just didn't think with a 60-year-old man. But then again, pickings are probably slim out there.
There's a few questions here. I think I'll just go. So, you're muted.
Oh, my finger is bleeding right now. I keep trying to hold on. I'll be back, but go ahead and ask some of the questions.
Okay.
Well, let's see the finger. What'd you do? What happened?
No, she now she can't hear you. She's got to stop the bleeding. It'll just keep going. So, Gloria and Dallin wants to know: do you have the coordinates for Dylan's farm?
I do not, and I'd like for her to answer a question for me. Over the last couple of months, I have been inundated as a private investigator. My telephone number is readily available. If you call that number, 813-993-2242, you'll get me. My phone is on 24/7, okay? It never shuts off. Over the last 2 months, I've been inundated.
It's okay. No one heard. Go ahead.
I have been inundated. Is she okay?
Mm-hmm. It'll just bleed a little because she, is on blood thinners. You're muted.
I had it muted, and I went. Did you guys hear the water running? Oh,
not
okay,
at all.
I don't want to be.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm on blood thinners, and I got it. I have both fingers just started coming really. I was trying to wipe it off on my notebook because I don't have a Band-Aid, but I couldn't keep doing it. But I just want to clear this up. I wasn't saying anything bad about Heavy D or whoever his name is. I was just saying the facts. He's a YouTuber. Because I feel like everybody's saying, oh, I didn't say anything negative. He's just a YouTuber that has enough money to have helicopters and stuff. Isn't that all I said, right? Did I say anything bad? And I just said he hangs out with Jake. I saw a video because it made me go look at his channel. He was hanging out with Jake and Logan Paul. That's all I said.
I think it's because Jim was saying, go get a helicopter later.
Yeah, people get real sensitive when you're cynical towards certain people, and I'll double down on it. Go ask the 2 guys he was most recently with and look at their cell phones before you need to have a helicopter come out there. It just is what it is. You got to crawl before you can run, right? I mean, that's how I would look at it. But some people they don't understand that. You know, the people are very sensitive these days, and unfortunately or fortunately, I'm in a business where I don't have that luxury.
But it's a lot of land, so maybe they were looking for a body or something, don't you think? Because what if it was...
I mean, I can understand the reason you'd need a helicopter, but go ahead and ask his boyfriend or the guy he was messing around with when he disappeared first. Then I'm right with you. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
She's probably just scared to find out, you know.
To be honest with you, I didn't know Jake Paul was a YouTuber. I only know him as a boxer. I had no idea that that's what he was. I mean,
he started as a YouTuber is where he started.
I was only made aware of him, and he's from Cleveland. He's not far from my original hometown, but I knew him as a fighter, him and his brother, not as whatever, a YouTube guy. The only YouTube channel I'm aware of, guys, is this one right here. In fact, if any of your listeners cheat on you by going to any other channel, shame on them.
Yeah.
You've been on some other channels, though, Jim.
Yeah, remember
You
that
said you
one.
guys had some questions, and I don't want to keep droning on.
Okay, sorry. Okay. He doesn't want to talk about the other channels.
Yeah,
Sorry.
let's go. No, Lola, seriously, you have a lot starred, so go ahead, Bella.
So Journey of Justice wants to know, and these are questions they might have asked a while ago. There's been no cell activity or credit card transactions either since he's been missing. Is that true? I don't know.
Yeah, there's been no movement on any sort of a credit card or cash that I know of, but I can tell you this. When I first got the family on the phone, and I always do this, people go, it's going right to voicemail. It's going right to voicemail. I think he shut his phone off. I think his phone was thrown in a river. I say FaceTime him. Do you know that about, I'd say maybe 10 or 12 cases in the last 6 years I've solved because the family couldn't get a hold of these 16-year-old or 19-year-old runaways on the phone, but then we FaceTimed them and they were at a McDonald's using Wi-Fi. So the family FaceTimed that phone and it was ringing 8 to 11 times the first couple of days, which means I believe that phone was still on. The phone has never been found.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't even know about the phone. Okay, wow. Are you sure? Serious? The phone was never found? Okay.
Mom said that she and her ex are united front in this. That is 100% true. They are working together very diligently. They have put whatever differences they had aside, and they're working together. But you know what they found? Squat. Jack shit. They haven't found anything. So they can be as nice as pie to each other. They can be best friends. They've got no results.
Gloria Dallin again she's asking great questions. I think she's really familiar with this case. Is there any cell reception out there?
And I think I know where she's going with this because we were getting on this before we had this YouTube injury. Is that basically the last 2 months I've been inundated on my phone calls with these, I don't know what they're called. It's a new branch of some sort of an investigator where these people take coordinates and then they use satellites and then they get imaging and they can basically look at the picture of the property on the hour or the minute based on 21 satellites that are floating around in space. Does that make sense? Have you guys heard
yes,
of it?
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. I've had about a dozen of these assholes call me and I've gotten one picture. In 4 different cases, not one photograph.
Wow.
One guy's an ex-Vietnam vet. One lady's in Switzerland. One guy is in Chicago. And if you give me the coordinates and you tell us where the body was placed and where you think she went missing from, we'll take some snapshots from 6 months ago and we'll send them to you. And it's Google Earth. I haven't seen any evidence that shit works at all. Maybe it does. It's never helped me any. That woman asking for coordinates makes me wonder. I don't know for sure if she is part of that group, if she does that. You know what Google Earth is? You can look at like your grandmother's house right now, and usually it's from 2 years behind. Supposedly some of these morons think that they can see, people killing each other from 6 months ago, and it's on these satellites. If that was the case, guys, I think a lot more cases would be solved. And these people are always, well, we're doing it for free. We're a 501c3. I introduced them to a family one time, and they try to hit them for $2,000 after they got a couple of images, and then wouldn't release the images. Still haven't seen it. So maybe they're legit. I've never seen one that works.
Does Dylan
it says they go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that one. I wanted you to ask that because I've heard people that rumor going around. Is that even true?
Asperger's? Yeah, that's a form of
autism.
Autism, yeah. I don't know. It's never come up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. These are interesting questions. I'd like to know. I mean, these are phenomenal questions, but not that I know of.
Trace on the case. How long have they been friends? Did this guy him when he was 17?
Well, without looking at the cell phone, I can't tell you exactly when their friendship started, but I do know that he knew him when he started his farm out there, and I knew that he was 17 when he started the farm out there. I know that this guy is into younger-looking men. He's definitely his brother was into younger boys and younger girls. So, listen, if you're a 60-year-old guy and you're into 13-year-old boys, what better boy than a kid who's 19 that looks 12? That kid does not look 19 years old. He could easily pass for a sophomore in high school. So it's a home run.
Yeah, he does look young. What about this question right here? Because the four-wheel drive thing issue, where she said it was put in four-wheel drive, but he would have known that it wasn't because the four-wheel drive didn't work. Have you heard about that? So
And
somebody else
this,
had to be.
I've heard this, I've not had a discussion, and these are great things. This is all television topics, right? This is very simple. I don't give a shit about the car. Go talk to the guy that's still around that was his best friend. You know, you're reaching here, not you two, but in general, they're reaching. Well, the car, and it was pressure washed, and we found boots in the desert, and they're making this look like a novel, guys, and it's very, very simple. The straight, the straight shot, go right to the two guys that, nobody's asked me about the nail marks on the arm. I mean, one of these two guys had scratches like a woman up and down his arm. And from what? The only thing he can tell people, it was from a three-wheeler accident on a quad runner or a three-wheeler. And that's just not the case.
Oh,
That's what he said?
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
On one arm.
Did you get
Guys,
a picture of it?
You have somebody by their neck like this and you hold them against the wall, they're going to scratch your fucking arm. It's real simple. But listen, it would be interesting to hear him try to explain that. You could spend $5,000 a day on helicopters. Why not just give him a polygraph? Be interesting to hear him say he didn't want to take it. I mean, the guy's a registered sex offender, and their photos aren't out there anywhere. The first guy's was. The first guy that they thought was involved in this and Kurt Wadsworth hate each other. They have a massive feud.
Oh.
The bloody guy? Is that who
He was never bloody. That story was horse shit. And, I even talked to him. He said he was not barefoot. That story has been moved around and exaggerated for weeks because it sounds good. The guy had a beard. He was a big, heavy-set looking dude. He looked like a serial killer. His name is Chase. He's a petty thief. He's a drug addict. He's not a serial killer. And he was 3 days away. I mean, he was 300 miles away when this kid went missing, and it leaves it a Little Caesar. So it's not the deal. He did not come out of the desert bloody and all that kind of stuff. It sounds good, but
are you sure Dylan didn't tell his mom that?
He did tell his mom that. He lied.
Oh, okay, okay. So it was okay.
Yeah.
What do you think the motive was
strange
behind?
people?
What's that?
What do you think the motive was behind lying to his
I know,
mom?
that's what I wonder. Why lie about
Mom
that?
and I spoke with that, and she had told me that she had got on his ass a couple of times for letting strange people in his vehicle, for picking up hitchhikers. There's another boy that went missing out there that almost looks exactly like Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Aidan Clooney, and he went missing about 20 miles away from there, and his car was found on the side of the highway. Go look at that story. The kids almost look like twins. Same age and everything. This kid had some mental disabilities, some mental issues, excuse me, not disabilities. He had some issues going on, and his mom didn't realize he was on all kind of medication for that. Why did he lie to his mom and make the story sound like it was, I don't know, the same reason the other kid didn't tell his mom he was on all kind of antidepressants. I don't know why anybody would lie to their mom about stuff like this. He's 19 years old. He's out there. His mom was on the phone with him when this guy got in the car. He made up a story to make it sound worse. Probably just wanted to give his buddy a ride.
And what about this? Did they find another male body looking?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, okay.
That's a great
Wow.
question.
That's Helen Frackler.
Yeah, Helen, phenomenal question. They found a body, and I believe it was a 41-year-old male out near what they call the Salt Flats. I mean, you got to figure there's less than 200 people in the whole town. They got like 6 dead bodies out there. That's a lot.
Wow. So I've seen this asked a few times, and I think you should address it. Our Bammy girl wants to know, why do you know that he's gay, that Dylan is gay?
Why do I know it, or how do I know it?
How? Why?
There's been more than a gamut of interviews that I've done with people that have seen him doing gay stuff with another guy. I mean, I didn't make out with him. I mean, what? How do you answer that? You know, I have gaydar. I mean, what do you? I don't know.
They're just saying, how do you know? How did
you verify it? I think.
Okay, so first thing I wanted is I didn't verify it about him first. I verified it with Kurt Wadsworth first, and then I said, were they hanging around? And then that alpaca farmer called me and he says, hey, listen, we've known in this town for 45 years that Kurt Wadsworth guy is into some strange shit. I also spoke with his ex-wife. I also spoke with one of his children. I also said, hey, listen, the reason that we broke up is because we were finding him dressing. He was Bruce Jenner in it. Remember I said that?
Mhm.
So then I looked at the other kid. He had never had any girlfriends. He wasn't talking about women. I couldn't find anybody. There was a story where he was at a truck stop and two, I guess you call them lot lizards, were all, you know what a lot lizard is?
Mm-mm.
A
No.
lot lizard is a truck stop hooker. They hang out at Flying J's and Pilot gas stations. They're hookers at truck stops. They're usually not very glamorous. They call them lot lizards. You can Google it. And two of these hookers came up to him. He didn't know they were hookers, and they were all over him. He's a good-looking kid. They were all over him. And they said, let's see your phone. And they grabbed his phone,
Oh my
and they
gosh.
started looking through it. And all it was pictures of tractors and dump trucks and seeds. And they says, aren't you into girls? And he turned him down cold flat. And Kurt Wadsworth got jealous. I've had that. It's the first inclination that I had, other than this kid not having really much of a history with women, and I guess there's late bloomers out there, but is that they would fight like a married couple. They'd hate each other one day, love each other the next day. He's 60. He's into younger men. But to answer your question, I probably did about 30 interviews. People that didn't even know each other all had the same story. So it's not just a leap. I'm not making this assumption because he didn't have a girlfriend. His family's very aware of this at this point as well, and probably won't be very happy, but the real story needs to be out there, at least the information that I'm gathered. If the ultimate goal here is to find him no matter what, see, that's all I care about. I don't care if he's gay or if he's not gay. Obviously, some people don't want that to be out there because they think he's going to walk out of the woods somewhere, and oh my God, people are going to know about this. There's only one thing that makes any sort of motivation for me, and that's to find the person. If being, if the way you say it is more important than what you do, then it's not for me. You know, you're never going to find the person. So unfortunately, yeah, he's with a 60-year-old guy.
And there's this one question. Is it true? This is Gloria. I think Gloria might not be here anymore, but is it true that Box Elder County Sheriff's Office isn't being helpful to the degree which is normal in a case like this?
I talked to Box Elder, and they were a bunch of jerk-offs. They didn't know what they were doing. They gave excuses to how far away they were. It wasn't their state. It's not their jurisdiction. Call this guy, call this guy. He puts it back on them. But let me defend the police here. Where's the crime? See, people always think that if you have a missing person, it's a crime. If it's a 9-year-old, it may be, because a 9-year-old isn't going to get up and move to St. Louis, right? A 12-year-old isn't going to get up and move to Portland. So there's a better chance that there's a crime when a 4-year-old leaves out the front door. When you got a 19-year-old kid who's been living on his own for 2 years in a farm and he disappears, it might be a little strange that we know there's something. But guys, there's no crime. Tell me where the crime is. So the police are only going to be able to do so much. See, that's people watching too much television. There's a case, a missing persons case, but that's not a criminal investigation. That's why you hire a private investigator. And hopefully when you hire the private investigator, you at least track down the 2 leads he has. I even offered the family a 100% money back deal, which they didn't want. It was the grandparents. But if they went to Kurt Wadsworth for that phone or looked at that guy's scratches, and both of them turned out to be horse shit, I'd have dropped the case or recommended somebody else. The father, about a week later, went and saw the scratches on his arm, and they've still yet to ask, nor has law enforcement, for his cell phone.
Did you get a picture of the scratches so you have some proof?
They won't take them. Everybody's scared to take them.
Oh, man.
Can you go get it?
There's only so much I can do.
What about the fact that there's 2 19-year-olds from the
Yeah,
surrounding
that's the other kid I was talking about, Aidan.
Oh, okay. Oh, I tried to look him up. I couldn't find it. I must not be spelling the name right.
I believe it's, and I'll have one of your listeners, but I don't have my notes in front of me, and it's going to sound terrible. But Clum, C-L-U-M. He's actually from California, and he went missing out there. I think that I got in trouble with the police because I said there were similarities, and they said, well, you're saying they're connected. I says, no, they're not connected. There's similarities. They go, like what? I go, their height, their weight. They're both missing, both 19. They both had fucked up, weeks
Oh,
and
I
months
just
leading up
found
to their
him.
disappearances. The fact that they're both not found, shoes are being taken off all over the place. It just doesn't make sense. But his story, yeah, there he goes. Aidan Clooney,
Yeah, I found him. Aidan Clooney. Yep.
good looking kid. I spoke with his mom.
Oh, you spoke with his mom. Oh, okay.
The police
So,
believe he walked into the desert or walked into the woods and he died somewhere about 19 miles away. They found his guitar and different aspects of his.
do you think there's a connection then? I mean, do you think it could be connected at
I don't
all
know.
or no?
I don't know if there's a connection, but there's definitely a shitload of similarities.
So he's missing shoes too?
Let me say this correctly. During his disappearance, the police were able to track him for like 18 miles and by footprints and things that he had left along the way. And you could tell that he had taken his shoes off and on, because he'd be walking in his socks. Maybe his boots hurt. I don't know.
Oh, huh.
I think that kid went into the woods and died. I know that he was a kid. And I'll pull back the curtain here. I've been retained by his mother as well. His mother has just spent the last 5 days with a mental breakdown, so it hasn't been good. There he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the other kid's picture up next to him. I mean, there are a lot of these 19-year-old guys, going missing, but he was visiting his grandparents. He drove his car. I was supposed to talk to a DOT worker who saw him going back and forth and from the vehicle, but they found his shoes, or not his shoes, but his guitar up in the woods. And yeah, he probably went but his mom did not realize he was going through mental issues. He was on all kinds of medications that the mother did not realize. And the police were upset that I was looking into both cases.
Oh, 19. So he was on, okay. So at April 27th, Nevada on US 93.
That's
So,
him.
so does he have, when he was last seen, did he have the blonde hair or the brown hair? Huh. Wonder why there's two. Wonder which one was his last picture. Yeah, he's definitely a nice looking kid. Yeah, I could do a side by side. I have to.
And let me show you something, guys, just so that we're all on the same page. So I asked the mom. That mom reached out to me and retained me, Klum's mom. And she retained me a few days after I was retained by the first family. It's the first time I've ever worked cases simultaneously. Because they looked so much alike, they were in the same area, I took it on. The first question I asked the mom, go ahead and put his picture up again. What do you think the first question I asked her was?
Hold on, let me get it up. I don't know.
And I'm pulling something up on my phone.
You asked, what was the question you asked
What do you
Aidan's
think
mother?
the first question I asked Aidan's mother was when I got the case? What do you think the first question I asked?
When was the last time you spoke with him?
No. Is he gay? That kid looks gay to me. And I'm going to tell you why that's important. His mom gasped and said, why would you ask me that? And I says, because there's a lot of similarities between him and the other kid. And she says, look what I found on his cell phone. Drag shit.
Okay, we're going to have to hide this so
Wait,
we can
hold
see
on.
it.
Wait, hold on a second. Oh, you got it.
This was on that boy's phone. Dudes dressed in drag. See that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some guy that, girl crazy 42. Okay, so the first thing I asked him when I looked at his picture and I was cynical, I said, is he gay? She said, yeah. I said, so she goes, I don't know. She goes, but I found, it's funny you should say that. You shouldn't say yeah. She goes, but this is what I found on this. And she didn't know what I knew about Aidan at the time. So here we go. Two 19-year-old kids, similar looks, similar build, both go missing in a similar area. Both are dealing with the same law enforcement agents. Both are taking their shoes off. Maybe this first kid that went missing 6 weeks ago was out in those woods and the other group found him out there. Or maybe he just perished out there. I don't know. I don't know what the connection is. That mom has had a very, very tough time. Sometimes everybody seems to think they know people. Mothers always seem to think they know their sons and their daughters until a private investigator gets involved and they find stuff like that. Drag is not gay.
I mean, that is true, Jim. Drag isn't gay.
It's not?
No, yeah, people could be, yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean they're gay, but.
Well, no. I'm talking, if I'm the person that is in the drag and I'm looking at men and I want to be with men that are in drag, well, then that's gay.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, if you wanna be with
Yeah, I don't know.
them,
I
yeah.
don't know what the hell that person's talking about. I didn't say, can there be a straight drag guy? Probably. I mean, I think you're slicing it a little thin. But then again, I got a pro football background. I'm used to locker rooms. You know what I mean? So what I'm telling you is that if you're a guy and you're wanting drag queens, chances are you're gay. If you got a problem with that, take a hike. I can't help you.
This is getting a little touchy now here. I feel like we're
Why would it
making.
be touchy? I mean,
Well, I don't know. I
you
just.
should be able to openly speak about this. See, if finding the person is the most important thing, it really shouldn't matter.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we definitely need to. You
Yeah.
need to talk to those the Wadsworth brothers. Definitely, like that's. I can't believe they're not willing to go make them talk. So they're
Well,
not even talking to
hold
him
on,
that at
guys.
all. You're saying the police
Guys,
aren't.
listen. I just told you here on the show. What did I tell you? Kurt Wadsworth's family said he was into.
drag.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did this kid have on his cell phone that's not related to the other kid?
Yeah,
Not
I mean, it could
related?
be related. I mean,
It is related.
do-
You know exactly where I'm going with this, okay? Two 19-year-old kids into dudes dressing up like women. You could call it whatever you want. Bottom line is there's a similarity there. I don't know what it is. You know, they just happen to be in the same area. The kid, Aidan, is not even from up there. The hell
yeah,
was
that's
he
what it said.
from?
He's not even from. Man, wonder if there is a connection.
California.
Like, huh? Wow. Well, so you're working both cases, huh? So I mean, it
As
might
much
lead
as
you
I
to the
can.
same.
I mean, you know, as much as I can, sure. You know, you get the family as much information that's out there. The $1 million question is, why would I come on here and explain it? Because I think the truth needs to be known. There's people that listen to these and that watch these that know something or will hear something and will come to me. Has happened in every case I've ever had. And they'll say, hey, listen, I didn't want to go to the cops. I didn't want to go to the family, but let me tell you what happened. And that really helps. That's why coming on these programs and droning like I do gets the real information out there. It just might be a little too coarse for some people, but you know what? This is real life. This is as real as it gets. That's why I don't watch those television shows. That's why I don't know about other YouTubers. That's why I don't follow Investigation Discovery or 48 Hours. I don't watch any of that shit because I see what this really does to people. I see what it's really about. And even though it's entertainment to a lot of people eating Cheetos in their underwear somewhere in Connecticut right now, it's dangerous. You know, there is a lot of bad people out there, guys. Not just
And-
drag queens.
And Jim's number, if you guys can see it, I'm gonna have to feed them. They're about to get crazy. Okay, you're gonna eat. Jim's number is on the screen right there. I don't know how to make it just Jim. Let's see.
I don't know if you could make it just. I don't
Let's
even
try to
know. I
make
never
it.
tried.
Want me to try?
You could do like
It could be
that.
you.
Wait, not me. I don't know. I never did this. Hold on.
Well, we're trying to make it just Jim so you
I
can
know,
get
how
the
do
phone
you-
number. I would go like this on him, and then I'd go like this.
Yeah, you.
And that's I don't know. I'm
guys,
not a pro.
No, I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. Okay.
In case
I
they
don't
do
know.
that, my telephone number is area code 813-993-2242. 813-993-2242. But guys, God bless you for having me on the show. If your listeners have any other questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, RuPaul's drag show is on in about 15 minutes, and I don't have a DVR recorder, so I got to watch it live.
Jim,
You're
thanks for
funny.
being here.
All right, yeah. Thank
If anyone
you.
has info, please do call. Jim is a straight shooter. He's like you said at the beginning, he's not for everybody. He's a little rough around the edges, but he's trying to find these two young men. Sorry. Yes, I'm gonna mute myself for a second. Thank you so much, Jim.
God bless,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Take care.
Keep us updated. Keep me updated. I'm very interested in what
Yes,
happens.
ma'am. Be
So,
good.
okay, bye. Okay, there you have it, guys. What'd you think? Like, now knowing what we know now, I'd like to hear what you guys think about what he said. And yeah, I'll be reading comments and hopefully do a live here soon. I'm working on a couple of videos, some pre-recorded, I think. So just be looking for those and hope you guys all have a good day. Bye, everybody.
Really, 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 really need your love. I'm begging you to be kind. I'm begging